Absolutely. So, Jim, thank you very much for your time. Google Developer Group's been really kind to me in my career. You've invited me out a couple times to present. I love the audience. I love the interaction. And so I'm really thankful that you had me out today. You gave me a little bit of background of what I do. I'm a managing partner over at Turnbridge. We specialize in higher end IT staffing. A lot of what we do is on that. We're constantly working with both candidates and hiring managers to find the right people for the right roles and break through a lot of the challenges that we're seeing these days in hiring. So, a little background on me: I spent 20 plus years in tech sales, not on the staffing side. But I did hire and I got hired a lot of times. And I can tell you that the world right now of how AI is impacting both the candidate experience and the hiring experience is moving at a rapid pace to the point where we would probably, if we meet again in 6 months, this presentation will change. So that's how dynamic the world is right now in hiring. But what I'm looking to do today, and I want to make this very interactive. So if there's an opportunity to drop in a question for Jim and he wants to interrupt me, please do. I want to make this very fast pace. There's a couple things that we want to get across is what's changed, what do the candidates need to do, what do the hiring managers do to help the candidates put themselves in the best light to make great matches. And then we'll call on a little bit of next steps on what all parties can do. So we're going to keep this fast, let you go on with your evening. So just to make sure, Jim, can you see just the main screen right now still?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so what we've seen happen right now with hiring is AI has given virtually every candidate the ability to give a perfect resume to match whatever job they're trying to submit for. So no longer the days of this person has
Although,
a
Doug,
role.
for some reason
Yep.
the screen went black for a while, but now it's back.
Okay, now are we good?
Now it's black again. Now it's back. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just me.
I can see it now.
Okay, the full screen.
Yeah, I can see the full screen, no notes or anything.
Okay, great. All right, so uh, interrupt me if it happens again. The technology is fun. But it used to be where resumes would be judged based on their skill sets, what how they relay and lay out on their resume what they're capable of doing. Now just about everybody's going to get a perfect resume associated with a job description. So that gives everybody ability to mass dump resumes into jobs, and it's creating a nightmare for both corporate recruiters, external recruiters, and hiring managers, because people are really struggling with how do I differentiate a good candidate from a poor candidate earlier in the process before they get in my office and we have an interview. So that's really the challenge that everybody's experiencing right now, and it's created frustration on two different sides. So from a hiring manager's standpoint, they can't figure out what good looks like, right? I've always said that, if you can't figure out what good looks like in your environment or for a candidate, you're going to really struggle with success. And so by the time things get to a hiring manager, everybody looks the same. So there's almost this paralysis by analysis, and moving forward and accelerating their hiring process struggles. Conversely, for candidates, people don't know why they're getting auto rejected. So if somebody thinks they're a great fit for a job, and then maybe one or two keywords in the AI prompts of the HR tool spits them back out and auto reject. And so they don't really know why that's happening. And it creates frustration on both sides. And this is just a little bit of a visual of how the funnel is widened dramatically. So it used to be a finite amount of resumes submitted, and you screen them down to the hire. Now, just about any time you put something out there, you can get hundreds and hundreds of candidates. For us personally, that's why we turned off Indeed. We're a type of company that tends to go out and find gainfully employed a lot of times people that aren't actively looking, but we actually recruit and we go look for them. We found that this was flooding our inbox. This was flooding our recruiters' time. We just said no more Indeed because this is the junk that was coming. But this is again what the challenge, and it's just an overload of information for all parties. So what's really, again, why is this happening? It's AI is. Yeah.
Doug, quick question. Michelle's just saying the title page. Is that the one that should be showing right now?
No, it's not going through.
Yeah, it didn't
Yeah,
go
it's
to
not
it.
gone through.
Now we see the 1, 2, and 3 bottleneck.
Okay.
Volume is no longer the bottleneck. Differentiation and clarity. Is that
Okay.
the one you want to be on?
No, but we'll circle back because we'll recap this. This is a little bit about the volume of what's happening right now. Is that, and this is just a slide that indicates that candidates are have an easy time matching their resume to the job description. So that's the challenge right now.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I go back to what I was just talking about there's the same market change, but it's creating two very different frustrations on both sides of the house. And this is what the hiring managers are dealing with, and here's what the candidates are dealing with. And we did cover that.
Yep. And the slides look like they moved. Look, here we go. Now we see
now we're moving.
800
and I
applicants
apologize
down
to
to
the
one hire.
audience. We are certainly having some Google Meet difficulties on my end. So thanks for stopping me there. But This is the funnel I talked about. And this is why we turned off Indeed, right? It's a great tool for some people.
Yeah.
For us, too much noise in the system. And we had to shut it down. And so, this isn't an anti-AI talk, right? We live and breathe AI. We've built internal tools that leverage AI for what we do. But it's just about finding the signal in the noise. And this is the main thing on both sides of the aisle, right? So the candidates used to be able to say, I have these skill sets and this is my experience. And that was enough to get the interview. Now it's moving over to proof points. And that's what's really important now, is it's not just you build a dashboard, but you have to give more details. And then you got to get into the effect of what that accomplished. And so for the hiring managers, where they need to focus now is on the candidate's judgment, not their history of what they've done. Right. And so the tools can filter for skill sets. That's going to get filtered, job experience, whatnot. But now what we're seeing is the most effective hiring managers are deciding with their own personal judgment, can this person do the job that we're asking them to do? And what we're finding is they're not getting that intelligence in a format from the candidates. And that's what we're going to hit next, is that when everything looks the same, and it gets to a hiring manager and they're flooded with too much information, how do you get your name as a candidate to the top of the stack? And it becomes a situation where you have to give them a vehicle to use their judgment to think you're the best fit. And to do that is that you have to demonstrate your judgment, which we'll hit on in just a moment. So how do you help pull this judgment out of your candidates as a hiring manager? Because if a hiring manager is putting a job description out there that isn't leading the candidates to describe what they're looking for. So again, job hiring managers need to do a better job of saying, what does success look like? A sharper definition of it, of what the role is. And it can't just be a senior backend Kubernetes engineer. That's just not working right now, because I can give you 100 resumes in 5 minutes right now that all say that. This is more about what are the outcomes and the proof points that you're driving. And so if the hiring managers aren't asking for those proof points, the candidates sometimes don't know to do that. So one recommendation I'm going to make for some people looking for a job, even if the job description doesn't say, give me proof points, literal proof points of the trade-offs you made, the decisions you made, what were the constraints and the outcome, the scope. You need to volunteer that in a way that's easily consumable, so that when they do have to lean into their judgment because everything looks the same, you don't. And so this is a simple playbook that we've been coaching our hiring managers on, is you got to walk into every interview or every review of a resume that either an external or internal recruiter routes to you, is these are 3 things that you need to really focus on: problem, decision, outcome.
Just one clarification question, Doug, on the previous slide. you had the old school, this is who I am, this is a thing that I did, Kubernetes, and I, good communications. And the other one, where would you say people put that? Yes, for sure, in the resume that they upload, but also in their LinkedIn and other places, just kind of adopt it kind of across.
Awesome question. Awesome question. 100% of our submittals come with the link to the candidate's LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
So that's part and parcel of the process, to the point where you'll see a lot of comparison of, did the LinkedIn profile match the resume? Did that, so there's a lot of, and when you look at where recruiting companies like us are starting to use these tools, is rapidly doing some vetting to say, did this person just take a job description and match their resume to it? But now we take it a layer over, and a lot of people are doing this, or should, is you now need to go find those proof points in LinkedIn, whether you've liked or commented on topics that show you're a subject matter expert and you're engaged and care about it. It gives you a long form way to talk about what you've done in your profile. And I'm of the belief that resumes need to morph more towards your LinkedIn profile, with proof points, with how you succeeded. Does that make sense?
No, it does. Thanks.
And this is the things that hiring managers can help themselves by volunteering this information that they can pull out of candidates, right? But now for the candidates, it's about being laser focused on what a good answer is and what a weak answer is. And so we've seen people that feel like they've nailed it on how did I use AI, right? And they rattled off 5 tools, but they didn't say, how did I use this to drive, what was happening? Why did I need the tool? How did I decide which specific AI tool to leverage? How did I use my own intuition and judgment versus their output? What trade-offs did I have to make? And then what changed, right? So either with the AI tools or just whatever part of the environment you work on, you got to work on proof points. And I'm going to say that over and over again, because that is where we see one candidate move on to the next phase and one candidate get flushed. One candidate not even get an interview, and the other one gets instantaneous, yes, please, how soon can we talk? And it's all about the proof points and stronger answers. And it's not a bunch of word salads, details, and technical jargon. So think about context, ownership, and evidence.
One question while you're between slides. This one's, I guess, once you've gotten past the screening and you're in the in-person interviews, any kind of framework of kind of storytelling, like STAR, when they ask you the standard questions, when did you work a project end to end and what was the hardest part or whatever, those open-ended questions. Do you have a storytelling framework that you guys like to coach people to use, the STAR framework, or is there any others that you guys like?
I personally don't have one I'm passionate about. I don't know if I know we have a couple people from Turnbridge on the call, if they want to weigh in or if they're muted, but as a specific, I'm a believer that when you focus on frameworks in a meeting and you're already nervous, you tend to bungle them up and get them mixed up.
Sure.
And so I always like to keep it as simple as possible. What were you working on? What was the decision criteria and what was the outcomes and trade-offs? And so I personally think less in frameworks that are rigid and more, and again, I'm going to keep saying the same thing, proof points of the work you did, not the technology you touched, not that you could make two things interact, but it's business outcomes. And that is where people are separating themselves from a bunch of auto-generated resumes. And this touches on it a little bit, right? And again, on the AI side of it, because what we're also seeing is even a year ago, so there were some organizations and hiring managers that punished people for AI use and said, you're not a strong, talented candidate. You're using AI to hide your inefficiencies. That's gone. That's done. Those people who believe that way, hiring managers are getting moved aside. Now it's proved to me how you're a 10x whatever you want to be, right? How are you amplifying your skills, judgment, and execution and talent with the benefit of these new tools, to the fact that we have one customer that will give 0 raises, 0 promotions, unless that person says, over the last year, how did I do my job better with AI?
Oh, wow.
And so we've seen a real shift of AI. So, and then that's the other part, is what we're seeing is job descriptions and roles that are posted are not explicitly saying, for the most part, tell me how you used AI. But they're using it as a flag of who to interview and who not to. So that's another thing I want to recommend to the folks on this call is, don't shy away from your leverage of this tool, of any AI tool. Just explain how it was complementary to you, not replacing you as a bot. And volunteer that in your resumes, on your LinkedIn profile, whether or not the job description entails it. Because that's the secret little flushing mechanism that a lot of companies have. That's frustrating to us because, we think that maybe they should solicit that a little bit more often, and we're encouraging the market to do that. So any hiring managers on the call right now, make that part of your job description, that people explain their AI use.
On the question of AI tools and using them, Andrew has a question on updating your resume with AI tools. Any tools that you have found that are better than others on coaching someone to get their resume to 2 pages and look great, not just for a human to read it, but for the AIs to consume it?
I found that there's a lot of tools out there that are pretty similar. I don't have a preference when it comes to resumes.
Sure.
Heck, ChatGPT has its own pre-built agent to help you build your resume. You can do it right now. Anybody on the phone can download that. What I have found is successful, at least what we've done internally, is that use some consistency on that tool. Because for me, we use Copilot internally, we use ChatGPT as well, but it's learned what our corporate persona is, what good looks like, what's our brand messaging, but also for me personally on ChatGPT, it's what's my personal messaging. And if you use the same tool, it learns you. And if you plug in your LinkedIn profile to that tool and you iterate with it, and that's where I've seen some very effective ways for people to tweak their resume. The buzzwords, I think you should customize your resume to the job you're working on. And so I don't think there's anything wrong in the world with taking your core resume, finding the job that you feel you're qualified for, and making sure that your resume highlights what looks like is important to that hiring company. I think that's absolutely critical. Now, if you're not qualified for it, then you'll be found out. But you got to assume that if you're going to submit for a job, that you just, but tweak your resume to match the job you're trying to get. But keep in mind that at least our recruiters, they'll immediately take that resume, that job description, they'll review it and see how questionable the matches look based on the person's LinkedIn profile. So that's your checkpoint, right? If you're saying I match this job and you want them to not think you're just doing AI to make your resume match it, you got to have your proof points in your LinkedIn.
On the more on the AI side, because everything's AI, on the hiring manager side, are you finding hiring managers using AI to write their job descriptions? Is that a thing?
Yeah, absolutely. The corporate recruiters are rewriting it with AI. Managers are rewriting it with AI. But we're not seeing strong output right now on their job descriptions. That's where we as a company, we have to be delicate to tell people your job descriptions are terrible. And that's why you're getting bad candidates for this role, or not being able to differentiate candidates for the role. You got to pull out what you really need in a world where anybody can, in theory, match the job description.
Sure.
In a minute. There's nothing preventing anybody from doing that instantaneously. So we're really focusing on our conversations on getting them to pivot to a better job description, which will get a better candidate pool and a better candidate experience.
All right, great.
Just a little bit of, when we talk about AI, you can either make it a differentiator for your organization and how you hire, or a differentiator in a candidate. But and this was the lead in that I talk about job descriptions, Jim. If you got a vague process, you're going to create chaos with AI across the board. But if your process is clear and you have clear signals on what the job entails and how you want them to explain they're a good fit and get that interview, it goes both ways, right? So you can create a fantastic candidate experience for your hires, and the candidates, as they submit, can really understand clearly why they were or were not a fit. So both sides can really improve if they put the effort in on the front end. And it's all about clarity, right? A lot of times we'll see a hiring manager that is too busy to write the job description, so they'll ask their corporate recruiter to write it. And the corporate recruiter will pick one from 18 months ago for a candidate they hired last time. And that's what goes to market. And then we get a call, eventually from, the corporate recruiter say, I can't find great candidates. They bring us in, and we have to have some tough love with them. And we have to explain that, I know you're busy, but how much time are you wasting interviewing people that aren't a fit for this job, right?
Sure.
And when word gets out that working or interviewing for your company is a bad experience, then candidates will shy away from you as well. For candidates, how do you find a way to not be just part of the noise? It's storytelling. Everything's storytelling right now. And you got to figure out how to tell that story in a resume that's being filtered by AI. And so one thing I will take a sidebar from AI is that the number one indicator of a hire in a company is if you have somebody to get your resume seen. For us, we have relationships where we can really push back on our customers and say, read this resume, we're passionate about it. But if you're not working with an external company like us, or they are not, how do you, if you feel like you're a good candidate for this role, figure out your network, find somebody in the Google developer group, call in a solid and say, who can I find in that company, and weave through it to just get eyes on my resume. That's the number one indicator of somebody that's ability to get a job. Probably stuff you all are familiar with, but that's incredibly successful. It's just who's who. Build your network, right? So that you can find a way to get those eyes on it. So
I just want to double click into that, or just repeat it, because I think it's important that in this world of AI just sending, or not even AI, just automation, other thing, just sending in a zillion pieces of digital paper to companies that they need to read through, and you guys on the Indeed side, just having to shut off that pipeline of stuff because it's just like too much. How am I going to find the right thing in this fire hose? Is that if you have a job that it looks like you're a good fit for, and you can find, maybe you have a friend whose brother works at a company, if they're able to refer you, or maybe it's a recruiting company that's passionate about your resume and that it's a good fit, and they know people that can at least put eyes on the actual resume, that boosts your, I don't know if there's any way to quantify it, but it sounds like that's one of the key things to get your resume at least looked at and have a fair shot of maybe getting to the first round of interviews.
Spot on. And I even see now I'm taking a peek at chat. James Jordan, you're spot on, right? That is it. And so figure out who in your network. And I'll tell you what, you'd be surprised how many people like us are perfectly willing to go in and just do a solid, right? Not everything your recruiting pals, and you all probably have one, is about them getting a placement. A lot of times I volunteer to say, hey, look, I know you're out there looking for a job. These are our customers we work with. Let me get you some eyes on your resume. So reach out to recruiters, right? They're not, obviously think about it, right? If a recruiter does you a solid and you land this job, you're probably going to be inclined to work with them in the future, right? As a little bit of a thank you, or I appreciate it. We've built a relationship. So lean into this. These recruiters have hundreds of more end user contacts than you have. So find one, find who their customers are, and tell them to do a solid. And then one day, if the time's right, maybe it'll work out for them. Right? I'd highly recommend that. We do it every day. We're helping our ecosystem.
All right, I'm scrolling back in time on the chat because one I skipped over to because it didn't seem like a good time for it. One is kind of not a special situation, but someone that's been that has worked 8 years in software development, software engineering, but pursuing masters in AI ML. So when they go for their first AI ML position, will they go for like the entry level? Say they're trying to get into Google, will they go for like entry, fresh out of school type programs, or aim for something higher? Do any
with a master's or an
advice?
Advanced education?
Yeah.
Definitely aim higher. So I'm actually very good friends and about to join the MBA board for University of Georgia, and I have a friend that runs that program.
Yeah.
And they're in the process of redoing their MBA program in the age of AI. And what they're saying is the entry level roles are the most susceptible to AI automation. The frameworks are highly repeatable.
Sure.
Those jobs are the most at risk. Even an MBA coming out of school, or an MBA, somebody that went back and got their MBA.
Yeah.
The people that are going to parlay this into success are just saying, I use my own decision-making criteria and my thoughts and my judgment and my maybe experience in my life to make those bots work for me. Be that person that understands frameworks enough to call out when a bot went sideways, or to command them to do and amplify myself. So definitely, at least in the conversations I'm having here in Georgia with the Georgia MBA school, is there's going to be a gap. There's going to be the higher end senior roles.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be pure entry level jobs that are just getting started. And then in the middle is going to be all the AI bots in all advanced type things when it comes to that. And so I think that'll more fast. So right now, just about every advanced degree and whatever topic you are, and the school is also is data science school as well. So it's not just their business school; it's also advanced analytics, and they are also changing their curriculum. Right, they're going to teach the fundamentals and then go straight to strategic thinkers.
Yeah, I can do it, but then I have to see that big picture so I can move any direction.
The assumption is a basic framework well enough. You have life experience, and we're going to hire you at a senior level to have strategy, vision, and direction, and know when to call out a misstep from the tools like AI.
All right.
Catch on. I'm here as long as we want to go.
There's one from that was up a little bit farther from Rishi Raj. If I'm summarizing the question correctly, that when they're out there looking for jobs, that there's and in technology in particular, that there's so much new stuff to learn. How do you even keep up with that so you can aim for, I might be working as a Java developer and we're stuck on Java 8 where I'm at. How do I find that time to learn AI and learn these new things so I can maybe get onto that modern train?
Well, that's a tough one, right? That's a tough one because there is so much and it moves so fast. I got laughed at earlier this morning because I talked about the tools I use in AI, and I'm an old fogey, right? And I've already missed the boat on the latest version of an agent I should be using. I think it comes back to foundationally, if you have a core foundation in the tech role that you're looking for, but you can show proof points and judgments and outcomes and how you can rapidly learn and adopt new tools and processes with the help of AI. I think the pace is so magnificently fast, and the fact that the nuances of the jobs are changing. So
Mm-hmm.
you sitting there coding for 4 hours, I don't know if that's as important to the modern hiring that's is happening right now. So proof, outcomes, how you made decisions, how you would add value to that team outside of rattling off 5 technologies that you just mastered and got a cert last year.
Yeah.
It's an interesting world, and it's going to change 6 months from now. The hiring process could change.
So we have a question from Michael Brennock. He's heard that you guys use AI to kind of help you guys out with your work. You're personally using the Chat GPT and Copilot, if I remember right. And have you caught AI in like obvious mistakes?
Yes.
Is there something that your team did in response to those mistakes? Is there ways to fix it so it doesn't happen again? He was just looking for any anecdotes on what to do when you see it's making a mistake, but you need to trust that AI to help you with your job.
So I tell you one that we've personally done. Let me see if I can switch my screen over to one other thing.
Sure.
I'll give you an example of it. Is it sharing right now?
Not yet, but just give it a second to maybe come through. I can still see the share screen icon on my side, so I don't.
All right, let me try one more time.
Yeah.
Because I'll give you a specific example of where we have found it be wrong and how we leverage it. So let's go over to here.
Sure.
Can everyone see this?
Turnbridge CSI.
Okay, yeah. So this is a tool that we designed. This is our internal AI tool, and it leverages Copilot. It leverages links into ChatGPT. There's some Claude stuff that's been plugged in, but essence of it is we take our resumes, we take our job descriptions, we take a LinkedIn profile, we take our recruiter write-ups, we take the job description, and we put it all into our AI framework, and we score based on the parameters that hopefully the good job description laid out in the candidate's likely success. And so this is for us the biggest source of poor answers we found at first. And so what we found is iteration over time will really clean it up at first. Like version 1.0 or beta version of this tool, I was just taking it and posting it in the Gemini, Grok, whatever other tools, and using it as a checks and balances, right, to see who was telling the truth. But then we learned that this turned into a prompting scenario that could be very, very effective. So it was saying this person's a great fit for it. But then we said, well, compare this to a world-class candidate, and here are 5 samples that we think is a world-class. And all of a sudden it started saying, yeah, this person no longer is a good fit. And so it was bullish to where it was telling me what it thought I wanted to hear. It almost started teaching itself that on a scale of 1 to 10 of fit for a job, that I wanted it to get better and get closer to 10. When that is not what we wanted at all. We wanted to build trust with our partners and our customers, and we wanted it to be a hard grader, not tell me what I wanted to hear. And so we iterated on this multiple times, tied it in and told it that it was being checked by other AI tools to make sure we weren't getting phantom responses or telling us what we wanted to hear. It was a really eye-opener. I don't know if anybody else on the call has had that experience with. We finally programmed it to say, "You're not here to make us happy. Be harsh."
All right, moving to another question. I think you might have touched on this already, but the certifications. I know you want to show proof points, but did you say something specific about certifications? Well, the question is, should I get certifications, or are there any that help would help trigger getting picked for a certain job if you have a certain certification?
So companies are absolutely still focused on certifications. I'd say it really depends on what you're chasing. So I also run the Workday practice for our company.
Sure.
And so for Workday, certifications are absolutely critical. And so there's just not even a path to consider a candidate unless they have all of the necessary Workday certifications that they need. So it really depends on what you're chasing as to the importance of it. So Workday, critical. Salesforce. I can think of a lot of instances where certifications are core. A lot of the cloud partners really want you to walk in the door with Google Cloud, AWS, Azure certs at the jump. But other things are less worried about it. So I almost equate it to if it's a large SaaS product that you're walking in the door trying to work for, you probably should be certified on it.
That makes sense. Josh Pollard has a question on, if you're looking for a job, how do you find a good recruiter to work with?
Well, first of all, you got to realize that most recruiters aren't here to work with candidates. They're there to build relationships and be part of a larger pool of candidates that the recruiting firm has to offer up. And so, like over time, there's, if a recruiting company puts you at a customer, knows you did a great job, maybe you were a contractor for 6 months, now you're in the talent pool and they trust you, you're going to be well served to the end user. And that's how it is. Most recruiters, unless you get into the executive recruiter world, aren't aggressively trying to find a candidate a job. They're trying to build relationships with candidates with skill sets that then, when the opening happens at our client base, we can help them get the resume seen. Sure. But sometimes that's a misnomer that we're here to go find candidates jobs. We're really here to fill a job opening from our end user base and create a great great candidate experience so that when we bring in a candidate, that candidate knows that this is a good, real, viable opportunity. So they got to, there's a lot of candidates that we work with that are gainfully employed and maybe not looking to do a change unless it's a great opportunity. And that's a lot of the people that recruiters are working with. It's just my blunt way of saying it, right? Most of the people in my space aren't trying to find current candidates jobs. They're trying to fill job requisitions from end users.
Gotcha. Yes, it's more, the hiring managers have open roles. The recruiters try to have a pool of known entities that they trust and maybe able to pluck somebody and make the connection. But just finding somebody that will be your side-by-side headhunter and will go and knock down doors to get you a job in 30, 60, 90 days, that's probably only at the C-suite level or high executive level where they're kind of working side by side. Did I repeat it back?
That's exactly right. No, you're spot on. Now, there could be people in this space, but I'm not familiar with them, except like you said, the executive. And there's dedicated organizations that do a lot of that executive headhunting. For us, we'll do it in the C-suite as far as like CTO, CIO, those type of roles, but we don't get into the other realm of CEO headhunting or anything like that. But it doesn't mean you can't create relationships, but just walk into that relationship with a recruiter with an understanding of they're not going to sit there and try to find you your job with 100 companies, but they'll keep an eye out, and and they'll also, if they're smart, want to build a relationship with you. So, if they do help get your resume seen. So I'd say here's the best recommendation I'd give. Find a recruiter, give them 3 companies that you think you're a great fit for, and ask them if they have a relationship with those 3 companies, and then you get eyes on it. That's a simple ask. They'd love to do it. We'd love to do it. And we do it all the time. But just understand, don't reach out a week later and say, how come I haven't heard back? Right? It's more of,
So that makes sense. Give them a target, not just like, hey, here I am, find me something. But do you know anybody at these companies that can?
That's the key.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's the key. One other thing I'll tell you, and if it makes sense for anybody on this call that is aggressively looking, like I said, this tool is something that now that we've built several variants of it and we feel like it's fine-tuned and has less of the phantom responses. If anybody on this call wants to reach out to me and say, hey, here's a link to a job that I think I'm a great fit for. Here's a link to my resume. I'd be happy to run this for you and say, look, if I was deciding whether or not I was going to interview for this job, this is my decision support. Tools spitting out that on this skill set in the job description, you're only grading out at like a 6.5, right? So I say that because it's not to try to rate everybody. It's to show where your gaps are. So then you go back and go, geez, I should describe the proof points better for this portion to show that I'm a good candidate for this. So if anybody on this call wants to reach out, sidebar with me, link in with me on LinkedIn. And if you're curious, and again, like I said, we grade harsh. So if you want to see where your skill sets need room for improvement, potentially for a job you're chasing, we'd love to help you out.
So it'd be that end up sending like resume and the exact job description, run it through the tool.
Yeah. Now we're a little bit more sophisticated as far as our own, because a lot of that, what we'll have recruiters, they'll take notes, they'll pre-interview a person. So, for a hiring manager perspective, we do a lot more steps, but just for a quick down and dirty, we could certainly help everybody on this call run that quick thing. What we can also do is give you some pointers on how you can start doing it on your own. Right.
Sure.
So happy to do that as well.
No, that's great. All right. Looking at a question from Eileen Weathers, just a question on the employee referrals. I know we mentioned them before as a way to get higher up. Maybe it's a skeptical view. Employee referrals are typically incentivized, but Eileen hasn't heard many success stories in her anecdotes. But how effective are those internal referrals?
I can speak from my personal experience. I worked at, a little background on me, I was almost 17 years at a company called NetApp, Fortune 500 company, a lot of HR process involved. I had to interview a referral. So, I think that's highly effective. If I was told that, this is somebody in the company that thought enough of it to refer this person, you need to at least give them an obligatory call on the phone and talk for 5 minutes at a minimum. So I'd say referrals are a big deal. And you know what? You're the people that refer you will appreciate it, because there's a lot of kickbacks that they get, usually $1,000, $2,000 from their company for the referral.
Sure.
So I would lean into that for sure.
Okay, so at least maybe get you the instead of getting ghosted by AI, maybe at least get a call from the internal recruiter. They'll do a quick screen, so it's a way to at least get into that first step, and maybe even an interview, depending on the policies. And that's on you from there to answer the questions well and tell them the stories of how you succeeded.
Yeah, I would, a key takeaway, and I don't know where my video went. Hopefully, I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's gone again. But don't wait for a job description to pull, to tell you it needs proof points. Volunteer it. Match when you do, which I recommend, you tweak your resume for the job that you're submitting for. But make sure that if you do that, your LinkedIn carries those proof points. And so when we're talking to our hiring managers, we're encouraging them to interview with a storytelling style where these candidates need to tell a story about how they went through the whole judgment cycle of leveraging the technology that they needed to do for a business outcome. Big on business outcomes. Technology jargon, and I know these two topics. Most senior leaders think those type of things can be automated, but you can't automate judgment at this point in a lot of their minds.
Yep. All right. Question from Andrew. If you found a couple job openings, at the same company, should you tailor your resume for each job or just use the same one for both of them? Does it look bad if you're, if you've got one resume here, one resume there, or if, the internal recruiter knows you've applied for multiple jobs? Is that a bad thing? So maybe two different questions. Should I customize my resume per job? And then does it look bad if I applied for more than one job?
Well, what you'll find that most of the tracking systems that at least large corporations use won't allow you to submit to two jobs. And if they do, they make you upload your resume and keep a single source of truth.
Right.
So I'd say that you have to probably combine. I know, to answer the question directly, I would not submit two different resumes to the same company. I would find a way to, even if it allows you to apply to two jobs, you got to check that. So one, prioritize which job you'd most like to have, and do that one first because you might not be able to apply to the second one. And then I would find a blended resume between those two jobs. And again, you're going to find that plugging in two job descriptions and your resume and your LinkedIn profile, you don't need a dedicated tool like us. You could probably get some really good output. Just go to ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, and you could still get a well-rounded resume associated with it.
All right, one question from Ronald. Sounds like he's looking for advice for himself, for somebody else that's been out of the workforce for a few years and trying to catch up and actually stand out in this job market. Any way to go from on the bench to in the game? Any tips there?
That's one that I find that's related to the persona of the hiring manager. Some people fully understand that, hey, I took a break, I moved on. I mean, one, you got to have your story crisp. You got to say why you stepped away for a while. Have a good story behind it, right? Whether it's take it of an ailing grandparent or whatever, right? Have a good story about why that is. But also, unfortunately, you're going to have people that will flag it, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it. I can tell you that when the background checks happen and everything happens, they'll find out there was a gap. So I wouldn't say you volunteer it, but don't use it as something that prevents you from the final stages because you didn't or weren't prepared to address it. But then again, some hiring managers will only allow us personally to submit candidates that already have a job. And some could care less because they understand that rifts happen in the market. So there's not a one-size-fits-all answer to that.
Susan's wondering if you're looking for a job, is LinkedIn the best place to look? Any job aggregators? I guess where to find them? As a human looking for a job, how do you even find where they are?
For us,
Yeah.
we pay for one tool. We have a tool, a recruiting-based tool that we use internally, but from an external thing that the common person would go leverage, we just use LinkedIn. That's the default where everybody lives, spends time. I wouldn't assume that there's good discipline on companies posting their job openings on LinkedIn.
Sure.
Some are good at it and have good discipline, and some just live in their own personal website. under their careers page. So there's probably some benefit for users to go to Indeed and these other job site aggregators, just because for the candidates it's a free tool, right? For us, we had to pay through the nose for it, so we didn't see the return on that. Matter of fact, it was a detriment to our productivity. But yeah, Indeed's fine, but LinkedIn is. I can tell you, our recruiting team lives in LinkedIn every day. That's 99% of their time is in that tool. I'd also think everyone on this call is on the right track. Coming to user groups is huge. So keep coming to these, find other ones around town that you can go to, meet people in person. There's, just about any technology out there, you'll find, especially if you guys are in the Dallas Fort Worth area, you're going to find some sort of user group on the topic. And a lot of managers come to these user groups to learn and make their life easier. And you maybe are that person that can.
Maybe combine a couple of these questions from Anil and Sashin on, there's the, burgeoning at-home agents that I can use Cloudbot or OpenClaw, whatever it's called now, to interact with the world for me. Is there any benefit having that agent do stuff for me, or have it interact like someone, the recruiter's agent or the company's agent can talk to my agent and learn about me? I don't know. It's such a new space, but have you guys seen anything or had thoughts on anything like that?
I can tell you internally what we're doing is very much leaning into the concept of these being our personal assistants and making us much more productive in our response to our customers and our partners and internally. So this is separate from recruiting, but I can tell you that my personal effectiveness has gone through the roof once I linked in. For us, we're not a large organization. We don't want to manage a lot of tools. So we've consolidated a lot of what we do on Copilot. I wouldn't say that's the best, but Copilot is helpful for us because it plugs into chats and Teams chat and their email. And so for me personally, I had to respond to a CTO about 15 roles that he was just going through all 15 and saying, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And now I had to summarize that. I went into Copilot and said, read my emails and chat with this customer over the last day and give a summary to my internal team, prepare a response to him, and draft the email. And it was 30 seconds and it was crisp and it's succinct. Normally I would have rifled through emails for an hour to try to get the output. So for a personal use, I'm all in.
Nice. Shane has a question on job roles that look like they're just here and then gone. They're only job postings only open for 24 to 48 hours. What's going on with those?
HR policy. It is they already know who they're going to hire. They have to post it for a certain amount of time, or at least let it hit the wild. Again, mileage might vary on that comment, but for me in my career, I was told that you just can't handpick your hire. It's got to hit the wild. It's got to go on our page. We have to give enough people an opportunity. And so I've worked for companies that was a mandate. Some it is, some it isn't. Some you have to leave it open for a period of time. So for me, when I published something like that, and it was gone shortly thereafter and no activity for me, is because I wasn't opening up to the broader market. I already had my hire.
Gotcha. So it's usually, in your experience, it's a sign that somebody's already in hand, probably internal, but maybe external, but they have some policy makes them show this job is open, so then they can hire it.
The other thing, what you want to really be a watch out, and this is one that I don't know what you're going to do about it as a candidate, but there are both end users and recruiting firms that try to preemptively build their pipeline. So they'll post a phantom. So I think somebody posted something in the chat about a phantom job. There's people that want to kind of skate to where the puck's going to be and build a pipeline of candidates with no real jobs associated with it. And so you'll see that as well. That's a real thing. And so I'd say that if you're just working with an online posting and the end user's abstracted from it, that could be a phantom job where they're just building their database.
Yeah. That kind of answers the question about ghost jobs that scrolling past. Let's see. The chat scroll is being a little weird today, so it keeps jumping back up. So I got to keep scrolling down.
Let me volunteer one other thing that
yeah, go ahead, Doug.
There's a massive influx of fake candidates. I haven't got my finger on. So some of the offshore stuff and nearshore, there's professional interviewers that will interview, get the job, show up day one, and then day two, it's some totally other person that's doing the job. So there's a lot of fake candidates historically in offshore, nearshore.
Right.
But what we're seeing is AI and the masking and the ability to real time have your computer so powerful that it, it's answering questions via AI that almost seem like you're passing an interview. And so we now have hiring managers that are saying we need proof of life. We need to know that that's not just a real person, but it's the real person that's going to show up on day two.
Right.
And so I think when you're submitting resumes, finding a way to make people clearly understand that you're a real person, and that's going to start with your LinkedIn profile. Put a photo up there, show a picture of you at a user group, show you interacting, and that will help some of these gun-shy corporate recruiters know you're real. We had somebody 2 weeks ago. Fortunately, it wasn't through us, but got 2 consecutive fake candidates, sent it over to a very senior hiring manager, and that internal recruiter, it was fearful for her job, right? And so, so anytime that, and now she's at the point like, I 100% have to know that's a real person to send through your candidates turn bridge. And so think through that, like, however you can find a way to show you're real when you submit your stuff it's a thing.
All right, maybe just 2 more and then wrap it up. It's been great. Lots of questions. It's fantastic. Hopefully everybody's been getting some ideas here. This one maybe quick. Cover letter. Does anybody do cover letters anymore? Should I even bother with it?
Yes. I wholeheartedly believe in cover letters. Part of where, and again, in no way do I want to make this a pitch for us, but when you saw that CSI tool that I mentioned, when we do that grading and routing and why this candidate fits for your job, every single one comes with a version of a cover letter, which is an executive summary, proposed role, what proof points. So we're living our values when it comes to what I'm recommending to you. We're writing a lot of times the cover letter for the candidate as part of our submittals. We'd love you guys, everybody on this call, to help us with the air cover on that. And not, because it's very manual, because a lot of it is our recruiters speaking to you and pulling out that information. We'd love it if more people volunteered it on the front end with cover letters, because you're going to be called first by us too, right? The more solid the fit with the cover letter that our recruiters can quickly say that's the better fit is going to be the first call. So you're just incrementally, think of 1% on everything you do as a job search, or if you're hiring, 1% better job description, 1% better detail on who you are and what you've done and capable of is the difference right now, because it's a flood of the same.
And then one, this will be the final one. Usually the final question is I ask a career advice question, but this whole session has been career advice.
Yeah, right.
Finding job advice. So I'll leave off the last one. So this will be the last one from Andrew. Kind of there's always a question, why did you leave your previous company? If the answer is actually I was in line for an FTE role, but then my boss got fired, so then I didn't, and then I also lost my job. Is that, should we just put it straight out there? Like that's why I left. I didn't get the FTE because my contract expired and the new boss didn't keep me on.
Yeah. So 2 parts to that. If you're a contractor, everybody expects gaps and contracts to end. So for us, if we put somebody out there longer than 6 months, that's gravy. That's fantastic. There's a lot of 3-month contracts to end. So if you're chasing a contractor role, no one's going to bat an eye at gaps or why'd you leave. Contracts end. There's a lot of customers that look through the lens of that's the reason why I have a contractor, because I don't anticipate this being a long-term thing. Now, a lot of them end up being long-term.
Yeah.
But never shy away from gaps, I'd say, from a contractor standpoint. Also, unfortunately, we've seen the trends of the amount of rifts in the industry right now. Rifts happen, and from my experience, it's often an algorithm. And I don't think that anybody on this call or that's been impacted by rifts should say that's a reflection of their skill set or their ability. Sometimes it's just, I got to lose 10% of the Dallas team. I got to lose. And it's, there's no rhyme or reason often. So I don't think many hiring managers, unless you get that one-off guy or girl that says, I won't hire anybody that's not currently employed. It happens, but the rest of the people understand that this is a market where people overhired during COVID. And now there's a lot of right sizing that we're seeing in the market.
All right, so we've gone a little past an hour, which is fine, and there's tons of information. I'm sure we could pepper you with questions all night.
Yeah.
But Doug, really appreciate you and the Turnbridge team for joining us. There was some questions being answered in the chat, so really appreciate that. Thanks everybody for joining. Super great. And before we have Doug say his wrap up, there is a second half if you are interested in it. We do have a networking session just to get to know about each other. It's just icebreaker and learn a little bit about the other people in the group. I end up making everybody a presenter so you can turn on your mics and cameras. And that would be after a 5-minute break. Have a bio break, get some coffee or whatever. But Doug, yeah, really glad you take the time here. I'll grab the slides from you and this video.
Please share them.
Yeah, I'll post them. They'll be on the same event page. Should be linked up by Monday. Though, if you scroll down, they'll be there. So if you missed any the beginning part of this, just go back, check out the video. If you think it'd be useful for your friends, send it to them. Doug's LinkedIn information is kind of all will be embedded in there as well, and he's easy to find. Doug Miller at Turnbridge. So I really appreciate it, Doug.
Absolutely. And so I just want to reiterate as a closing that work your network. And I want to encourage everybody here, if you are looking for a job, start with me. Now consider me part of your network. Find me on LinkedIn. Make me prove it, right? If you have a job that you're really interested in, ask me who I know or who my business partners know or my recruiters know. Let us help jumpstart you. We know it always comes back when good people help good people. And if you want to test our tool and see how you grade out and wonder if someone's going to call you back or what you got to do, link in with me. I'll give you my work email, and we're happy to help out.
That's a fantastic offer. It's always great to get one more person in your network. And Doug's a great person to have in your network. So everybody, thanks again.